just you probably feel this is the most important time of the year, the end of spring practice until the first day of fall camp. I mean, maybe not a lot of football practices, actually no football practices, but just a lot of informal workouts, a lot of weight room, and a lot of the team really coming together. How would you compare just how you're feeling today compared to this time last year with all the work that was done between April and August?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's year two. I mean, drastic difference of progress. People where they're supposed to be. It's just the minimum standard people are hitting. Whereas before we were fighting to hit a minimum standard. Like a team rule is a minimum standard. So when somebody breaks a team rule or doesn't hit a team's minimum standard, like those are issues. Those are real problems in the program. We don't have many minimum standard issues. So now the challenge is how do we get this thing to where we actually want it to be, where and that's the hard part. But we're definitely, from the minimum standard standpoint, it's not even close. And from the depth of our football team, the depth and competition, I mean, everybody's going to compete. I mean, we can actually compete in fall camp, and it's not like I'm the starter, and not many people are the starter. I mean, it is going to be a fun fall camp because of that.
How much different will it be?
Fall camp, a little bit different. I think our guys need to train and learn how to respond to adversity still. I think that's still an area that isn't necessarily a strength for us, and that's how you learn how to win, is respond in tough moments. So we're going to structure practice a little bit heavier in the first 11 days. We're going pretty much one day off, like you have to by the rules, but we're going the maximum amount of days in the first 11 days. And we're going to take a lot of our off days leading up to camp or leading up to game camp, a lot of our off days. So the first 11 days are going to be difficult, hard, strenuous, mentally challenging to wake up. It's like 10 days out of 11 and go practice, and that's by design. And then trying to take off their bodies as we start to get to camp, as we start to get the season done.
And so how much?
Scott Bordeaux, what's your earliest memory of Camp Arizona, and what's your favorite memory of Camp Arizona?
I mean, it's more just I don't know if there's a memory, it's more just the legends that get told, I think are awesome to hear people, and I don't want to get too much into it, but it's just the climbing of the mountain with the guys, and like last year we climbed the mountain, and I remember Keith Avenue's up there with SIP, and they're like on the top of this mountain that they climbed and looking over, they're like, I've never seen anything like this. They're from Texas. They don't see that. They don't climb a mountain. They don't look down. And it's like those experiences of Camp T are just so unique that it was a first. It was something that they'll remember forever. And I think that's kind of what bonds people together, are moments. I talk to the guys a lot about moments. Life is all about moments. If you're miserable in your daily life, you're going to be miserable. You may have moments that hide your daily life. And people search for moments to disguise what their misery. But at the same token, moments are what you remember. And our job is to live a life that you're happy and joyful and you enjoy what you do. And then you have these amazing moments on top of it. And I think Camp T is a moment that they experience that they remember forever. It's not a normalcy, it's not what they do every day, but it's a moment that they remember.
Kenny, we just talked to some of your guys in the Leadership Council, but I understand you named that the Pat Tillman Leadership Council.
Yeah, so we reached out with Doug. We reached out to the Pat Tillman Foundation, and we asked them if it was okay if we rebranded our Leadership Council as the Pat Tillman Leadership Council. They were for it, and Doug and ASU football have been working with their team. We're going to develop a patch to put on our players' jerseys that says they're on the Leadership Council, something around Pat Tillman, so everybody knows. And the purpose for that is when you create something like that, every single start of game or sometime within a game, that TV crew is going to say, what's the patch? And they're going to put a Pat Tillman on the screen, and they're going to put 10 or 12 or 8, depending on the year, people, and it's going to be a way that he gets honored in every single football game we play.
How do you decide on the young men who complete that council and what kind of traits?
They get voted on it.
Okay.
So our players completely vote on it. This year we did 10 guys voted, and then the 2 highest young guys that were voted. So we always have some young people in the program. Some young guys, freshmen, sophomores, got voted in the 10 as well. So, but we'll always have a mix of youth and a mix of vets. That number will change every year, how many are in it. To be honest, it's fairly decided by how tight the votes are. If two people are 2 votes apart between 6 and 7, we're going to carry 7. If there's a big gap between 6 and 7, well then 6 is the stopping point. It's kind of going to fluctuate year by year because I don't think one vote should dictate if somebody is ruled as a leader or not. So it's going to kind of fluctuate year in and year out a little bit.
Coach, how important is it for you to keep teaching these kids about Pat Tillman and what he meant to this institution, and also just to keep honoring them in different ways?
Yeah, I definitely think we should honor him. I mean, we have a stat shot in front, but I think what I've learned is we're getting an era where, I mean, kids are 16, 17, 8 years ago. That was a long time ago. How do we make sure people are still being educated on what he did? And I think this is a way that it gives TV networks and it gives people an opportunity to then spend 20 seconds reminding the next future of Sun Devil football fans, anybody who's watching us play. It reminds them and maybe teaches an 8-year-old who Pat Tillman is, because they're saying, "Daddy, what's that stand for on the patch?" So I just think it opens up an opportunity for people to continue his legacy. And I think it's huge because, I mean, we talk about leadership, that's what it's about. And what better person to be the name of your leadership team than Pat Tillman? I mean, it just makes, some things make too much sense.
You talked about, guys are going to compete. There's a lot of competition at position. How healthy is that for a program?
Oh, it's very healthy. It's very unhealthy when people are comfortable. You got to be uncomfortable, regardless of what you do. I mean, you guys are all in here and you guys are all friends, but y'all compete against each other. Right? That's just the reality. Like, you want to get more clicks than you and you and you. That's the job. But it's healthy. Like, you got to have healthy competition in life, not just football. Everything you do forever. And if you can't have a healthy competition, it's going to come back to bite you eventually when you get into the real world. So we're going to compete our butt off. It's going to be a harder fall camp. We've planned it for that. Our guys have trained for that. We've trained harder this year because we've gotten there, because the standard's been raised. So I'm really excited to push these guys to the breaking point.
What do you expect from the leaders?
I expect them to hold other people accountable. One, so everybody knows it's the famous, whatever. Coaches lead good teams, players lead great teams, right? It's the same, but it's true. And it's easy to say that. It's hard to actually do it. So I expect the leaders to take the program where we're at, the minimum expectation of where we're at, and raise the standard. And I'll give an example. We were running the other day, and the last run of the day, we had to run a perfect 5. We already finished the work, and I'm like, all right, just everybody run a perfect 5 yards. We give a cadence, we try to get you to jump outside. Just don't jump outside when you're tired. Run 5 yards full speed. So Coach Joe brings everybody up, and he tells them the drill. They have to tell the team, practice communicating. It's another thing we asked them to do. They have to communicate it. What was funny is they were both told run 5 yards. Okay, well the standard is we run 2 more in everything we do, which means 7. So I thought they were all going to go back and say, guys, it's 5 yards, we got to run 7 yards. They both went back, and they both ran 40 yards. There it is. So the standard wasn't set by us. The standard was set by them, and that's what good teams do. And it's not just that; it's how do we run to the ball. I can harp run to the ball and say, "Oh, well, you're not going to play if you don't run to the ball." Great, but you're still going to play your best players, right? So who is holding that guy accountable to say run to the freaking ball? And I think that's where we're looking for. Number one is, can you communicate and can you hold a standard, and you're not scared to hold that standard when it's not being upheld.
And Coach, when you look at the
Hey Coach,
Hey.
in a deep wide receiver room, what was it about Melvin that you felt helped separate himself and his peers vote him as leader?
Yeah, consistency. I think he's so consistent. Like, I honestly, I don't know, like, how most people, there's like a little few different versions of him. Like, that person, he tired, don't talk to him, right? Everybody has different little versions of themselves. I've never seen a different version of him. He is the exact same person, comes to work every day, Mr. Reliable, smart, helps people, right? I think it's that consistency that position group leaned on and the team leaned on when they voted him in.
I think Coach defensively, I know obviously second year under Coach Ford's system and guys are just chopping up the bit to get back on the field. But what do you expect from the defense overall?
Yeah, I expect us to run to the football, and I expect us to get takeaways this year. That's two things I'm harping on: is run to the football, create takeaways, and obviously we want to be a more physical football team. I think part of that is recruiting. At the end of the day, football is a lot of physics, and last year the physics weren't in our favor. I think this year, we match up from that's a 260-pound guy versus a 310-pound guy. It doesn't work out too well very often. I think we match up physically, and now it's the effort, and there's the mindset of we have to get the ball back. And defense is, in my opinion, harder than offense because all it is a series of responses to adversity. You have to be so mentally tough to be a good defense because a team can drive 85 yards and you make one good play and it's phenomenal. And I think that's the part about defense that we're really harping from a mental side, not physical.
Hey Coach, Damon Allred, Arizona Sports. How open is the quarterback competition? What are the boxes that they need to check to earn that spot?
Open. Yeah, open, and boxes want to check. You got to lead. We already know the guys. I think all the guys in that room are workers and care, and that's a big thing for me. Is like your consistent work ethic. I think all the guys in that room right now are consistent, and that's one of the greatest. It's one of the best factors of a quarterback is can you consistently, care. Is it not up and down? And I think our guys care. So now it's can you run the offense? Sounds stupid, right? Can you not make mistakes, right? Can you mitigate mistakes? And then can you make special plays? Make the play you're supposed to make. Don't make critical plays, negatives. And then what's your X factor? When the play sucks, we call a bad call, when the right guard gets beat, and the running back mixes a pass pro, what happens? Is it 2nd and 18? Is it 2nd and 10, right? Or is it 2nd and 4? I don't know. You can't coach those moments, and that's 25% of the football game. Are moments that are just X factor moments. So hard to find in practice because the quarterback's not live. It's the hardest part to find. And sometimes that's why some guys aren't starters and they go in the game mid-season and they're superstars. Because you can't, it's really hard to find the X factor piece of the game. You can find the other 75% in practice.
CJ Fight is one of the younger guys on that council you were talking about. Can you talk about his maturation both from a playing standpoint and from a leadership standpoint?
Yeah, from a playing standpoint, he's so strong and he's just getting stronger. And I think how he's maturing is when you're a 300-pound strong guy in high school, you take the guy in front of you and you just move him backwards. And you sack the quarterback, or you tackle the running back. In college, you have to have moves, you have to have technique, you have to be able to use your strength. And I think the biggest thing for him is he has taken his strength and what he's learned through last season and said, okay, Coach Reynolds is in here. I have to be better fundamentally. I actually have to work pass rush moves. I can't just bull rush a guy every single snap, right? People are good in college. I have to have a pass rush plan. So I think from him, it's his pass rush plan. I think that's what he's preached. That's what he's tried to work on. And then from a mental leadership standpoint, CJ's not the loudest guy. CJ's like a little bit quieter, but I think he's starting to pick and choose his moments where people listen. He's picking and choosing his moments to say something. He's not going to be the guy like X who's talking all the time and constantly motivating, right? But he's going to be the guy that in his moment, he will set a standard. And I think that's part of being young, but that's part of being on the council is learning when that moment is right. Is that moment right when it's a senior who's starting on the other side of the ball is doing something wrong? Probably not, because you're a sophomore. He's a senior. Is that moment right when it's maybe somebody your age doing something wrong? Yes. It's having that plan for how can I lead at the stage of my career and then I can grow as that leader. And I think he's starting to do that.
What do you see Trenton Gourmet's role in the team this year?
I mean, he was voted on the leadership council. It's as simple as that. I mean, the dude was voted to be a leader of the football team. And I think anytime you're voted to lead a team in the Power 4 conference, right? Like that, where's Doug? I thought we were in the Power 4 conferences, that tells you everything you need to know on where you stand. Those guys listen to him, they respect him, they search his leadership, and I'm very, very happy to have him on our team. He's a stud.
Coach, we talked a lot last year about the defense playing well, but especially at the beginning of the year, not being able to force those turnovers. Now that you've had some time away from that season, able to look back, is there anything that you can attribute that to that you can now apply for this year moving forward, or was it just one of those?
Yeah, I mean, from a coaching perspective, we're just harping on balls in jeopardy on offense, and we're harping on ball disruption on defense. A lot more tip ball drills, try to force interceptions. And then part of that is you recruit to guys with ball skills. So, we're strategically trying to recruit guys like Plies Johnson. Plies Johnson played both ways, playing corner for us, right? How many guys, punt returners in high school? If you're an elite corner and you don't punt return in high school, is that because you struggle catching the ball, right? You better be the punt returner if you're an elite corner and elite athlete. So we're trying to recruit to more guys in the back end in general with ball skills to create turnovers, because it's difficult to coach somebody's ball skills. You can coach it and train it, and yeah, you can get better at it, but those guys that have natural ball skills to play on offense and you put them on defense, those are guys that can be dynamic in the back end. And I think we're recruiting to that, and we're harping on it more as a staff.
There's only 6 scholarship players still on the team that were on 2022 team. What does that say about just the rebuild or the state of college football, or what do you make of that?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, is that how we want the attrition to be? No, not at all. Was that necessary to get to where we are right now, which is, I think, a good place, and getting better? Absolutely, yes. I mean, and sometimes what people forget is it's not one-sided, it's dual-sided. We've lost people we didn't want to lose, and we've lost people who didn't fit, showing up 5 minutes early and wearing their same gear as everybody else. And I think it's just the combination. And we only had, 40-something guys on scholarship, or maybe high 40s on scholarship when we took over. So I think it's just an accumulation of the situation we were in. I never dreamed that would be the case when taking the job. It wasn't like the plan was come in, let's get rid of everybody. That wasn't the plan. It just kind of happened very, very naturally throughout the process. That's it. It just happened. Hopefully it doesn't happen in the future. Hopefully we can sign high school kids to replace high school classes, sign transfers to replace transfers, and be very, very consistent with it. But rules change every day, so.
Coach, obviously an extra day of Camp T, so I gotta know, any chance you'd go looking for snakes with Clayton?
No. Absolutely zero chance of going looking for snakes with Clayton. I hope Clayton doesn't go looking for snakes. Who let that happen? No, I'm not going to get started on Clayton and his snakes and stuff.
As your coaching philosophy has evolved over the past year and a half or so, how do you see the team evolve, practice to practice, day to day, along with your approach?
Well, I mean, our philosophy hasn't changed one bit. I mean, the plan hasn't changed one bit from a player perspective with what it takes. Do we have to change things around it based off of rules as a staff? Yes. But the culture of what we're trying to instill in these guys, that hasn't changed at all. What I've seen is people starting to understand it, people starting to hit it, like I alluded to earlier, hitting the expectations, the minimum expectations of it. And like I said, I think that is the beginning of where you can go, because until you hit the bar, you can't raise it. And I think for a year and a half, we've been trying to hit the bar. And I think this spring, really, we started to hit the bar. I think this summer we consistently hit the bar, and there's only so much we can do. I think now it's how do we coach our best players, how do we coach our leaders to keep raising the bar beyond what a coach can do. And I think that's the greatest challenge, is can you coach your players to raise the bar, right? You can't coach 105 and set a new bar. You've got to get your players to buy in, and your best players to buy in, and your top 15% to set the bar so high that everybody is trying to get there. And I think that's where we're at now, is we've hit a minimum expectation. How do we get higher and higher and higher? and that is extremely player driven, and that's our challenge. We get our top 15, 20% of our guys to keep raising the bar and not be satisfied.